Well, good evening again, councillors. Wearing a slightly different hat now. We have a planning meeting. I'm going to depart almost immediately from the agenda because we're going to take apologies for absence first, and then because we have Paul Bland with us from the NC, and I know a number of you have stayed on because he is here, I would like to offer him the opportunity to speak very briefly to us if he wishes to, and then to take questions for a reasonable amount of time, but bear in mind we've still got a complete meeting to do, and we have another presentation to receive in connection with a planning application in respect of a site in Cotterstock Road. So can I take apologies for absence first? Are there actually any?
No.
Well, it makes that bit fairly straightforward. In that case, Mr. Bland, I don't know where it would be easiest for you to address us from.
I've not really prepared a script or intending to address you. I think I've just come to listen to what you have to either ask me or say to me, and try to respond as positively as I can. Anything I can't answer, I'll take back and get back to you. And equally, we're very interested to hear from the chaps at the back afterwards.
Well, welcome to stay on for the rest of the meeting and hear any part of it you wish to. Right, well, on that basis, I can't believe that somebody won't want to kick off with an early question to Mr. Bland on any planning related issue.
Well, there's nobody else can have a go.
Of course.
There has been an issue that I've raised with the council when I joined them about a development on the A605 where some trees were removed and the woods was taken down, and PGR moved and changed the use of a piece of land. And following our request for something to happen, people got involved with it, and we seem to be outmanoeuvred by the occupier of the land. And we're into a situation where we know that he is contravening his planning, but it's all down to the legal costs of whether we can take him to court over what he's done. It leaves a flavour that certain people can abuse our planning regulations and get away with it because they've got big bank accounts. And the small people, which we spend most of our time talking about here, who might want a small extension on their house or change of use of something in their property, get hammered by the system. It doesn't feel fair.
No, it wouldn't be fair if that's what we were allowing to happen, but we're not. I spoke with Councillor Bowles last week about this issue, and he's been in contact with me a number of times about it. What we are doing is making proper contact with the gentleman involved to try to get to the point where we have a mutual understanding as to what is required in planning terms to do the things that he's been doing. She says he's done quite a lot, and seems to be in the mode of doing it first and asking later. As local planning authority, we have to regularise that and bring things back into line. So we have a new enforcement officer now. It's called Chris Hancox. He's the principal enforcement officer. So we've not had one at that level before. He's only been with us just over a week. And his first tasks is to go and meet the gentleman involved and explore the issues and explain what we can from our perspective. That's not necessarily going to stop him in his tracks, because these things often take a bit of a relationship building. But yes, I'm quite aware that the perception is that it's absolutely unfair for somebody to be getting away with something when there is a process to go through. That said, the things that have been done, which is what I mean by we have to regularise the position, we do need to assess, and if they're okay in planning terms, then they're likely to stay. But it is a case of analysing each each and every breach, because they are, you know, a lot of the things there are breaches, what's called breaches of plan control. So we will keep you up to date with that, probably through Councillor Bowles or direct through the chair, if that's okay.
Yep, no, it's fine. I'm very impressed that you're up to speed with the particular issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say, enforcement officers that I've been dealing with over quite a long period of time have done their very best, really. And usually you find it's just retrospective stuff and people have bumped things up. The person around here who's not very happy about a certain development. And it would be very nice if it would be torn down. But I don't think we're going to get that far. But no, they've been very helpful. I mean, George and Sue Scott, for example, a couple of the law enforcement people.
Yeah, they're our long-standing team members. But,
No, Sue was, in this particular issue, Sue was very quick.
Yeah.
But I think the councillors Oaks are also aware that in their neck of the woods, where one of the housing developers, it came up across a problem with drainage on their site, just dug a big soakaway pit without any planning permission, without any consultation with the council or the local people. They just dug it.
Yeah, it does happen. It does
Well,
happen. It doesn't mean so it's right, that's why we have.
It's there for a good reason.
Yeah.
It's the attenuation system.
Yeah.
So it's really, to stop the water. We've talked about water going down New Road actually earlier, but it's to stop obviously the water because we had flooding in Clapham Road because it just shot down the hill and whatever. And the idea obviously is just to slow it down.
Yeah. Well, often people go for a practical solution, but it's not always the best solution.
Well, I think it's interesting though. It seems to be the same sort of problem that we had. Is that there was no sort of consultation at all. That's the bit that really tends to rankle us, to be perfectly frank.
Yeah.
Is that if nobody tells you, and all of a sudden it appears, and you go, well, we didn't know anything about this. And of course it makes us look stupid, because if we go around the town, people will poke us in the chest and say, well, you're responsible for this. And you go, it's nothing to do with us, it's highways.
Can I ask what your department's view about retrospective planning applications is? We do seem to get the question a lot.
We're getting more and more.
Yeah, very naughty indeed.
Well, do you
Is the
smack
view,
them?
but yes, we do. You have to take a proportionate approach, but where we hear of them, and we don't hear of everything, and where a permission is needed, we will follow it up. If the breach is so minor that it's simply not, and this is the point that Councillor Robertson was alluding to perhaps, if it's so minor that it's not going to be worth just bringing it under control, then we won't pursue it very actively. But it's there, we do get quite a few major issues that we do have to pull up. Just slightly out of your patch, but not so very long ago we had quite a big issue in Ashton where the residents were very concerned that someone had bought some land and was starting to erect buildings, do works to gates, fences, install all sorts of things, and we had to be on that very quickly to stop it. And that was one of those weekend jobs where I got a call on Saturday morning and we had to get out there pretty sharpish to let them know that they needed to stop. And we talked to them in detail on the Monday morning. So that one was arrested. The person was arrested. The development, authorised development, was arrested. And
But didn't on that case they rip up all the trees before you got there?
well, that's the thing. And it does still happen quite a lot.
So you won't be forced to replant the trees?
Well, that's still being worked through, actually, that particular issue. We have, in that one, we did do quite a big assessment of the quality of the trees and the quality of the work, but it's not really yet.
Just a very minor follow-up on retrospective planning applications. are you as an authority entitled to charge an applicant for a retrospective application more than an applicant for an ordinary application, and if not, why not?
No, we're not, because our fees are statutory fees.
So if we would want to, something like that to change, we have to lobby our Member of Parliament and ask for legislation.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it
It's
strikes me that it's
understandable, it's
completely
understandable.
ridiculous that you can pay exactly the same fee
Exactly.
when it's putting you to more work, it's causing you more expense, it's causing the public inconvenience, and people just don't seem to get punished in a very obvious way that could be done with a very minor change.
Yeah. Well, it is more work because there's more than one team involved. There's the enforcement team and the development management team. They work in the same office, but it's more people touching the same project.
So I think I'm aware that in America, departments like their own essentially don't have any funding from central economics. All your funding comes from finding people like those retrospective planning,
Yeah.
and that's why they become very efficient at it. But you're saying you haven't got that power, we didn't give it to you.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, we do prosecute sometimes. It's not a very common thing to do, but we do prosecute. But we don't always get the benefits, financial benefits from prosecutions and fines.
I think we all appreciate your frustration.
Paul, can I just with the when the unitary authority comes in, will that affect your department as such, and all the planning applications happen around Allenby?
It's a very good question. It's one that I can't give you a very straight answer on, because what there isn't at the moment. First, we haven't formally been informed by the Secretary of State that we're going into unitary, but the assumption is that we are. Second, there will be 5 authorities coming into one if we do go that way. So, as you know, Kettering, Corby, ourselves, Wellingborough, and the elements that the County Council covers. So there will be a lot of melding together of the different service areas, the different personnel. We all do things slightly differently, in some cases really quite differently. So there'll be that sort of transition process, I think, whilst it all beds down. Because, to be quite honest, it's my view at the moment that if unitary does happen by May 2020, there's very limited time to align systems and ways of doing things across those 5 organisations. It's going to be a big enough job working out just who's going to be doing what in a particular patch. So what I would imagine, don't quote me on this because this may well change, because it won't be under our control necessarily, is that there will be a transition period where things as they're happening in East Northants might stay relatively similar for a period of time, whether it's a year, 18 months, 2 years, I don't know yet. The fact is, though, that the way planning is done is governed by the same legislation across the piece. One of the potential benefits, I was interested to hear the discussion about Northbridge earlier, is that one of those county functions that will come into the unitary will be highways. And highways is often, I'm sure you find, a little bit of a frustration when it comes to dealing with various projects. So, so there are potentially some opportunities for...
What banana for the cowboys, to sort of get all levels in confusion, build a house, and then we'll actually go down the road.
Councillor Oates, I wonder if you might want to raise any issues around the planning website and any issues you might have with that.
I mean, I've got some minor gripes about it. Sometimes it's a bit wobbly, but I mean, that's the IT people really. Not particularly often, it's just that because everything now is done on paper, we rely 100% on that really. The other thing is, it'd be nice if a little bit more information could be given on tree applications, because all we get really is just, look, this is it, and it's sort of here and whatever else. you know, I know who the tree officer is, and we normally actually defer to the tree officer. We tend to get very excited if somebody wants to fell something, but if they just want to trim it, we just, you know, whatever else. The information's a bit sparse. In fact, some of them only get one document, and that's the applicant, you know, putting the thing in. But that's minor stuff, really. There's a lot of other things I'd love to change, but they are of a technical nature, and I don't think I'm going to be nailing you down on that one.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for that. That's, I mean, I accept that there are some issues with the public access system. It's not always as user-friendly.
Well, I've been trying to get on it today. Yeah, I've been trying to get in on it in the last half an hour.
Yeah.
And it's dead.
It's, well, we've had a few IT glitches. We've sort of merged with Wellingborough Council on the IT side, and quite a few things are still settling in. So, yeah, and you know, it's an example in a smaller way, I suppose, of what we're going to potentially be facing.
But I actually like to sort of, you know, have some sort of dialogue with the guys and say, look, I'm a user, and therefore I'm the person you should be talking to, really.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like, I mean, it's very redesigned so that people can access this stuff on things like mobile phones, and it needs tidying up, really does.
Okay, well, I'll take that back, because we have been thinking about that, actually, that there's been the techie work that's been done in-house by our IT people and consultants, but there probably hasn't been enough public engagement with users. And the place I used to work, we used to have a regular developer agents forum and town and parish councils forum, where these sorts of issues could be raised a little bit more objectively. So that's a very fair point, which I'll take back.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be, well, not amazed, but you'd be quite surprised how many different applications I have to do to lift stuff off the web and stick it in a PowerPoint. I use a whole load of stuff to do that, because I have to convert PDFs to image and all that stuff, because if you can't put PDFs straight on it, it doesn't like it.
Yes.
There are little issues like that. Okay.
Okay, grateful for that one.
Following on really from what Councillor Oakes has said, I think when we initially contacted you to come and talk to us, we were talking at that stage of the issue there was about timescales on some planning applications. We did ask some of the other town and parish councils what they thought about changing timescales available for town and parishes to look at planning applications before it's then assessed by at district. We took it to NCALC AGM to raise as an item there, but there was no real appetite from most of the other councils there to sort of second the motion that we look at it as an item. I don't know how big a problem this is, but sometimes there are times when we find that we haven't got sufficient time to look at things in depth. We're very tight for time before it's due back with yourselves for final assessment. Would you like to comment on that? And
I think it's been happening less and less over the last couple of years that town and parish councils have felt that they haven't had enough time, but it does happen. And it's usually when there's a bigger application or a controversial application that you need to dig into a little bit, so you need a bit of time to think about it and talk about it. What I would suggest for this town council is that whenever there are any applications that you think that you do need more time on, get straight back to the case officer and ask for an extension of time. It's often going to be the case that those types of applications are going to go over the allocated time period in any case. So perhaps a safe thing to do is put in a holding representation and and then have some sort of statement where you would say, well, we would like to make further comments, but at the present time, the Town Council feels ABC about it. We would like to consider it more, and we'll aim to get back to you within a reasonable period of time. That sort of thing, just so it sets that marker there.
Lisa, our acting clerk, does that.
Yeah, we do that, and I think there's only one time in the duration that I've been doing this that they came back and said they actually couldn't extend it due to various reasons. So there's only, yeah.
One of the things that is sometimes disturbs me is that I usually check the planning applications for, shall we say, neighbours, residents, observations, complaints, maybe objections. And sometimes they don't get on the website very quickly. And I have always got my standard thing I say here, and I said, I've investigated this, I don't believe we have any things, but there could be one in the pipeline. And I've been caught out on 2 occasions, really quite big time, on that front. But I mean, that's all to do with, the level of processing and staffing and all that sort of stuff, isn't it?
It is, and that one is something that we often hear, and again, in particular on very controversial applications. So it's not in this patch, but we've had, in fact, we're on our second application to south of Rishton on a chicken farm, which is extremely controversial, and we're getting thousands of representations on that, and because there is a manual process involved in verifying, and now because of GDPR, you have to go through redactions and so on. A checking process. It can take a few days for the representation to go on. But people now, because of the instantaneous nature of communications, expect to see whatever they put forward instantaneously on our website, so we can't always do it. But there are a number of occasions where I think we do need to tighten up on that for less controversial applications, so to speak, because it is important that if you as a town council in particular are going to put in a representation about something, that you have sight of whatever's been put in. But often we do get late reps anyway, so you're not going to necessarily catch everything. But
There's something that frequently comes before this and every other council that looks at planning applications, which is where the homeowner who bought a house on a development, which was perhaps originally a 2-bedroomed house, and then it starts to get extended, and it happens all over the place. But of course, when you grant your planning permission originally, you've usually done it on the basis of X number of 2-bedroom houses, X number of 3-bedroom houses, and so on. And yet these applications have the effect of entirely distorting that and inevitably reducing the bottom end of the market so that there are fewer small homes available. And we have quite regularly expressed concern at that happening. And it doesn't appear to have any weight whatsoever in terms of your ability to refuse a permission. And I just wondered, is there some basis for saying, look, you can't constantly see increases in the size of properties because you're going to distort the nature of the development that we approved in the first place?
no, it's a very difficult one, that. You can take away permitted development rights, and a lot of that sort of extension initially happened through permitted development, so you're allowed to put a certain amount of extra onto your home within limits, and the government is extending that quite regularly, so part of homeowners' rights, and giving people the ability to have the house that they want without actually having to get back into the housing market and move somewhere because of the issues that are going on in the housing market. There are mechanisms to remove permitted development rights, things like Article 4 directions and so on, but they're done quite rarely, and there has to be a good reason for doing them. But yes, I mean, I take the point that developments are permitted on the basis at a certain point of time that we're going to provide a mix of housing that is the reasonable mix that the authority would accept. You know, big houses don't tend to get smaller. Unless they're knocked down
by 2 or 3 more, yes. Which, strangely enough, we might be talking about not very many minutes from now. Perhaps another quick one, which I simply say for the benefit of colleagues on planning. It's always another vexed question about things like impact of a development on the street scene, issues around possible overlooking and so on. How much weight is that given by you when you're considering a planning application?
Quite a lot of weight. We do take it seriously. You might feel in individual circumstances that we don't take it seriously enough, but we do certainly take it into account. One thing that is in the revised National Planning Policy Framework, which came out a couple of months ago, is an ability for local planning authorities to take design much more seriously. And I think that's been welcomed by most authorities. Again, sometimes you work with your hands slightly tied behind your back, and national policy hasn't been particularly strong in that respect until, say, very recently. The test cases will start coming through soon, I think, nationally and potentially even locally. I, for one, have no qualms about refusing an application on design matters. You know, it might fit everything else on the bill, but if the design isn't right, it isn't right.
I'm going to have to limit the number of questions at this stage, because I think otherwise we could probably go on half the evening and we've still got an entire meeting to do and another presentation. But any more quick questions?
Well, it's basically that here in Apple we have a full grade 1 and a whole load of grade 2 buildings. Now we recognise that we need to preserve the vernacular of our town. We also recognise that people's why they want to live their lives. So in other words, you knock down an interior wall and put a shower in there, that sort of stuff. But we, just to give you an example, we pretty well said no to any solar panels. Now, should we be doing that?
Well, there was an appeal decision not too long ago where a gentleman in the town centre installed some solar panels. But in retrospect, we refused the appeal, and the appeal was dismissed. So,
that was down North Street, and I know exactly where it was.
So, you know, we do take that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, do you think we're right to stick to that as a general sort of planning thing?
I think whatever your view is on those sorts of things is important for us to hear, because
you're studying on a Collie Western Road for goodness sake, that's you know.
Yeah, but you know, and Handel has special circumstances in that regard, so you know, it is important to let us know if you like them or not, whenever they're proposed.
Okay. I'm going to take one more if there is.
Can we touch on neighbourhood plan?
I was hoping somebody would.
David just dragged that on, didn't
We snuck it under the door.
And really, at the time that I was chairing the neighbourhood plan, we had submitted an SEA and HRA proposal to you. Now, that was really a follow-on from the work done by an earlier consultant. I tidied that up, brought it up to date, resubmitted it. I know that your principal officers were of the feeling that we ought to be putting in some stuff on individual sites as well as as a whole, but I think the comments were very strong from James Wilson, our previous consultant, which I reiterated that all the sites really were outside of all the areas of constraint on SEA and HRA, and that I think the nearest controversial thing is Lived in New Beale, I think, and we're we're far enough away from that and other sort of gravel workings and things that we're not, we haven't got any serious issues on either SEA or HRA as far as I'm aware. We did this through Councillor Stern, who's chair of your planning committee, and your officers were going to incorporate our SEA and our HRA further work in with their own at that stage, and because ours was quite small relative to the amount of work you were going to have done with consultants, we were going to use your consultants, and the district were going to cover the cost of that for us. But I think we've moved away from that, and I would really like to hear what's happened on that, if you've got that information with you tonight to be able to...
That was certainly the intention to try to do that, you know, to help to move things forward, and you know, it seemed like quite a sensible idea to do it jointly. As it happened, because through the local planning process, we have to start as part of our process doing all of that work right from day one, so to speak. So we appointed our consultants at day one. When it came to it, our consultants weren't prepared to do it. They felt that it would be a conflict of interest. So, and we can't make them do it if they feel there's a conflict of interest. So that's where it got a bit stuck. We've had a couple of meetings since then. Councillor Peel just mentioned as he went off that he's going to be in touch with the next few days over some neighbourhood plan issues. So you know, I'm sure we'll pick that particular issue back up.
So what we don't understand is why they aren't exactly the same. The sites are the same, you know, therefore the consideration should be the same. So, you know, there are 5 principal sites around the town, you know, so whether you do it or we do it, there's still 5 sites involved.
Yeah.
So what is the difference that these consultants say they can't?
It's the client. It's because they're commissioned by us to do the local plan. But the conflict is because the neighbourhood plan is your plan, and they are 2 separate entities, and that's caused a problem, I think, in other places, whereas it would be nice to think that we're all working together, because essentially we are. You know, that's what we all want.
That's why we can't see the conflict. You must be looking at the same 5 sites that we're looking at, and therefore you must present the same documents, the same reasoning, you know, the same consideration of those 5 sites. So we can't see one, you know, midging of difference between the 2. You know, so why should we on our cash-strapped council pay for exactly the same work that you are paying, or with the money that we've given you, you know, as part of our council contribution, we give you the cash to do this work. Why can't we use the same piece of work? Because you leave us with a concern that you're not taking into consideration the 5 sites. You know, we're left a bit in the dark on this subject.
Okay.
And it was going to be done, sorry to interrupt, but it was going to be done in parallel with us running Regulation 14, because it should have been done before Reg 14, but we were running it in parallel, and I think everyone was happy that we did that, provided that the 2 finished at about the same time. Then everything was all right, but I gather there are now some problems that we might have to repeat Regulation 14 again, which I think will confuse the town and will obviously delay things considerably.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a few process issues that we've got to face, but as I've said, at every town council meeting that the various guys I've been to, it's not my intention to undermine the neighbourhood plan. You know, there's no benefit to anybody in that. So if we can find together a way forward on this, then we will. So
Well, Council Peel's our man now, so he's going to be in touch with you.
Can I just ask, if you're commissioning the work, it's your work, so you can give it to whoever you like. And I would have thought the consultants would have a say in it. You can give it to us if you want. I don't understand. And maybe I'm being obtuse. I can't understand why you don't give it to us.
Well, when we commission the work from that particular consultant,
And you pay for it, presumably, so it becomes
we are
yours.
paying for it, but
Yes.
they have, what they're stating is that it's a professional conflict of interest to do that. And they are right in the sense that there are two separate products, if you like. So there's the district plan and the neighbourhood plan. This was never something that the government thought about in any particular detail when it introduced the neighbourhood planning process.
I don't see why we shouldn't have the information. It should be in the public sector.
Well,
And it shouldn't be private, so why can't we have it and use it?
you can. You can have it when it's done, because there are certain stages of it that have been done already. And if we are bound to do that, we can't keep it in hiding from you.
So if it goes into the public domain, and we simply copy it out and maybe alter 2 words just for the hell of it,
Yep.
where's the problem? We've now got exactly what you've got in essence, without having to go to all the trouble of instructing another consultant, in effect, to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
It just seems perverse. And it's very difficult to see where the conflict of interest lies, because they are generating a piece of work for you. What you do with it thereafter, it seems to me, is entirely a matter for you.
Yeah.
And if you're going to put it into the public domain, then you can give it to us and we can utilise it in exactly the same way.
Especially as there were no, as far as I'm aware, no contentious issues. We weren't close to any of the main sites that would be a concern for SEA or HRA. So I think we were pretty close to putting in a sort of almost a nil return, if you like, that we didn't need to do it anyway because there was nothing to report. But we have reported it, we have done it, and that report says there is nothing there that's contentious. Your report presumably will say exactly the same. It seems odd that that can't move forward together, as it were. If they are two just formality reports, nil reports effectively, that there's nothing of concern, either district level, as regards our 5 or what, I thought it was 7 sites we had in the
Well,
original.
there are 2 that are being classed as opportunity sites,
Right,
the smaller
okay.
ones, so there's 5
Yeah.
principal sites.
Yeah, but I counted all 7 in when I did the
Yeah,
SEA.
there's no problem with that.
I
But
put all 7 in, and none of them were, as I say, the feeling was, and the comments from James Wilson, who'd done the work previously, and he was a planning engineer, our previous consultant, was that there was nothing there that was contentious at all. It was effectively a nil return. I'm struggling to see why there is a conflict of interest in 2 nil returns, and in getting this work to a conclusion and moving on with our plan.
Well, I think the issue revolves around one word that says if there's nothing contentious. I don't know yet, because I haven't seen the outcome of it. There might be. You don't think there is, but our consultants might think there might be. And then we'll both know.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we'll share it. But so I don't think I'm going to be able to give you any direct answers about what we will do exactly from here tonight. But we will be discussing it with the neighbourhood plan group.
Thank you very much
It's
for-
important to try to get it all moving again.
Thank you for giving us a clear and concise answer on what that process has all been about.
Mr. Bland, I really want to thank you for taking the time and trouble to come, for answering our questions. I'm very conscious of the fact that we've got a lot of business to get through, and time is moving on rather rapidly. So I'm going to call a halt out of it. You're very welcome to stay if you wish.
I will do, yes.
If you need to go, please feel free to at any point.
Yeah, okay.
If you'd like to take a seat back
I
again,
will.
perhaps.
I fully intend
At
to.
this point, it may be It may be that one or two councillors will have to leave, but we do have a presentation that is of some significance, and we have Paul Ingle and David as well. Sorry. Everybody's disappointed.
Too many out there.
Is that okay, or would you? Is that possible?
You tell Neville, is it going to be an issue for you or not?
As long as I can get it back up again.
Fine.
Yeah.
So if
No,
we're
you
going
can go with that. Hang on round the top, so I can see that squeeze out. That might be easy. To Pete. Yeah.
Right,
I'll move you around. That's all right, because they wanted to speak to the man. The man. Great, so let's take there's more than
I've lost my pen.
and your seat, it would appear.
Sorry.
In just a minute.
No,
I've got a pen.
I'll squeeze in here at the end.
Right, yeah, no, feel free. No. That's slightly the other way.
Sorry, really, get sorry.
Oh, very nice picture. Very nice architecture. Who designed that? That's the view from the back.
We're going to icebergs, so we've got to start road.
David, just on declarations of interest, are they coming up again later on?
Yeah, we haven't got to them yet.
Yeah, I have one interest in one of the
Yeah,
issues.
no, that's
The
fine.
agenda's a
We've got to get. Well, we are actually sticking to the agenda. It's just that it took so long to get Mr. Bland here that I didn't really want to give him 3 questions and send him on his way again. So I wanted to give it as much time as I possibly could, but I really did think we need to crack on. It's 8:45. And, absolutely. We're not going to finish before about 10 o'clock at this point.
Can you see it okay? Or is that
Okay.
okay?
Gentlemen, although
I'll move this out of the way so you can.
can I kind of call us to order a bit? Paul and David have got a presentation to give us. I have to say I can't possibly allow them as much time as we gave Mr. Bland, or we won't be out of here before midnight. But please feel free now to take us through what we want to talk to us about the site on Cotterstock Road.
Yeah, that's fine. No, thank you very much for allowing us to see your site. It's a site we've been looking at for 2 or 3 months now. Pembroke House on Cotterstock Road, which I'm sure you're probably aware of and know about. Obviously the existing house is in quite a poor condition. Got a brief presentation for you, a little bit about ourselves, just very, very briefly. A little bit about Country Core Care, who are our clients and who are looking to build a care home on the site. And then we've got a brief presentation of the actual proposals. So if I just start off very quickly. So we're Portchester Richardson Architects. We are specialists in healthcare. We do a lot of care homes. And one of our main clients is the Royal British Legion. So there's 3 homes there we've actually done for them. The flavour of the type of project we've done. Hopefully just to convince you that we do know what we're doing in terms of care homes. Okay. Country Core Care. So I'll try and keep it brief.
Good evening everyone. I'm David, I'm from Country Core Care. So Country Core Care is locally based in Peterborough. We have 32 homes across England. We employ around 1,400 staff. We've been operating for over 30 years, so it is a totally private company. And as Paul says, you know, we are looking to, you know, hopefully bring our services into Outdoor. We'll keep it brief, obviously we've got more, keep it brief.
Yeah,
We don't, we sort of times of the essence.
No, sure. So yeah, existing house, plus sub house. So that's the site. We've had topographical surveys done, we've had ecological surveys done, we've had agricultural surveys done. We have a surface drainage scheme being developed at the moment, and what else have we done? Oh, highways. We've got highways. We've had a highways engineer. Who has actually done a traffic study between the hours of 3 and 5 o'clock, and we have a report from him.
We won't
findings.
baffle you with that this evening.
Why 3 and 5?
That's when the schools turn up.
Schools, yeah.
It's the busiest time of that road.
Are you just quickly while we're on that point? You're probably going to come to it in a minute anyway. But does your traffic survey reflect how much your traffic from that site will impinge on the whole thing?
It's a assessment of our development.
Right.
So it's the impact
And
of
about
our
industry as
development.
well.
It basically will. It looks at parking requirements. I understand there are NDC requirements for parking standards, which we think are a little bit high, as in requirement. We have obviously tried to justify why we're only providing 16 parking spaces as opposed to the 35, so we probably need to improve the standards. Country Core Care do a lot of care homes. Most of their care homes are 66 beds. We're proposing 45 beds. For a 66-bed care home, typically they're providing between 12 and 15 spaces, car parking spaces. But we do see Outdoor and this site as it should be a locally served site. We shouldn't be bringing in.
My point of it is that perhaps if you've got fewer parking spaces than you perhaps need, then staff parking might just park along the road, and then that causes even more havoc at certain times of day. So it's like,
there is no parking along the road, you know. I mean, literally from sort of here, you've got double yellow lines going out to the central speed limit, and zigzags to here. So there's a lot of places. There are parking
There
spaces.
is no parking. It's double the line.
As
well,
Paul said, you know, we should look into
I won't get into the finer points of
Would be looking
people
at
abusing
rezoning.
that, but
We would.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you know, we would try and encourage staff, you know, to walk to work, really. And also, what we've done on other homes and other developments is actually, you know, provide transportation to actually pick staff up, especially in areas like here where it can be a little bit remote and not everybody drives. So
I'll go through the proposals quite quickly. I'm happy to come back to particular slides and questions. I think that's probably the best way of doing it. Floor plan wise, we're looking at a 45-bed care home. Typically, care homes are arranged in households. So in this instance, we have 3 households. So there's a household of 5 residents, a household of 6, a household of 8. I believe the average changed. So 19 residents on the ground floor, 20 on the first floor, and we have another 6 residents in larger rooms on the first floor. Sorry, the second floor. Roof space, it's 2-storey with basically roof attic space. So yeah, first floor plan, pretty much replication of the ground floor plan, apart from the fact we've got a couple of balconies, one on the rear of the site, one of the lounge in the centre.
and that's just literally just from feedback from CQC and local authorities about outdoor space, because obviously we provide outdoor space for people on the ground floor, but you know, people on the first floor in care homes don't always have the mobility to actually get down to the ground floor, but it actually gives them the opportunity still to have some, you know, some fresh air and outdoor space.
Roof space wise, we are literally looking at 6 1-bedroom apartments. So these will be literally in the roof space at the front of the site. And if I go on to the elevations, you'll see what we're trying to do with the elevations. There's also a street scene which I'll show you shortly. Okay. Front elevation, side elevation. So this will effectively be the elevation onto Cotstock Road, which I say we have got a street scene picture as well. This is a section facing south, very similar elevation facing north. where basically the main bulk of the home will be at the front of the site, and then we're trying to step down as we go down to the back of the site, by literally lowering the building down as we go to the back.
That's on the front elevation.
Front elevation's the top, yeah. And we've jumped. Sorry, I've jumped. Yeah. What's it is gone too fast. Yeah, sorry, I believe it. That's the front elevation. So effectively you have main entrance section here which comes forward, and then two side sections. We've tried to keep with local materials. We've driven up and down Stock Road a number of times. I'm local as well, so I know Hamlet quite well. Some plays in the cricket team and the rugby team. So we're looking at local red brick, sort of red multi-brick, pebble dash render, that sort of thing. Plain roof tiles. That seems to be the sort of general thing. I mean, there's a real mixture along Stock Road, but as you sort of go along, there's a sort of bit of a thing to it. It's reacting rather slowly.
So like I said, that's the rear elevation.
That's the rear elevation with the two balconies. Street scene is probably more important. By all means, if you want to come up and have a look at it, or I can go back to it. Essentially, we're looking at a two-story building, spaces in the roof. We had a meeting with the local residents yesterday, literally the immediate neighbours to the site, so we invited literally, I think, about eight residents, so it was the houses either side, the house to the rear, and the houses that actually overlook Stock Road. So the purpose of that was to actually show them our proposals and get some feedback from them. In terms of height, we're about 500 millimetres higher than the existing house here. The site does slope down, and actually the street slopes down, so the house next door is actually slightly lower, mainly because the ground level is lower there, so it actually slopes away. Those of you who, if you've looked at the local planning, you know the site behind this, which is the slope down to the river. So we try to make it in keeping with what is on Stock Road. And then just literally put this slide in just to give you the full picture of where it is. I'm sure you'll know anyway, but just if you want to come back to this at all at any point, that's the site. We've got the school here. We've kept our entrance exactly where it is now. That was on the advice of our highways consultant. We were looking at possibly having an in and an out, and his reaction to that was, well, actually, if you double up the entrances, you've got double the chance of accidents. It's actually better to have one single entrance.
That's interesting, though, because the original house did have an in and an out.
Yeah, so originally it was part of this land as well, wasn't it? So you actually came in on their side, and actually went out. So, because I believe originally that was, I'm not sure, looking back at the old historic plans, that was the site of Pembroke House, but it may have also included this, I believe, I don't know, at some point in the past, when we went back so far.
It's been about 20 years, haven't it, the dwellings either side, roughly.
So that is a selection of drawings. I'm happy to go back to any particular slide, answer questions, really.
Well, can I ask one, which is slightly at a tangent? Some of the properties along that side of Cotterstock Road, which have the sloping fields to the rear of them, have the benefit of a covenant preventing the development of that land.
At the rear?
At the rear.
Yeah.
I wondered whether the property that you have has the benefit of the same covenant.
I know, I've heard about the covenant, and when we was going through the legal process, the solicitors brought it up, we couldn't get to the bottom of it, to be blunt, but we understand there is some sort of covenant on this area here, of the building. I don't know the full details. I say it's something that we're aware of, and we were told about, but we couldn't get to the absolute bottom of it, to be honest. There's nothing that we know of specifically on our site.
Interesting.
The consensus, the consensus from the residents, literally, it was the neighbours number 19A, 17A, it was number 5, St Peter's Road, and then literally the residents opposite. As a result of hearsay, also one of the governors from the school came. We've actually been in touch with the school, and we're actually seeing the school also. The main I think the main topic of conversation was that they seem to be happy with the principle of the care home. They would like it much better if we could actually contain the care home within the footprint of the existing Pembroke House, as opposed to building something this large. And highways, as in parking issues, was the other significant topic of conversation. And literally, you know, is there anything we can do to assist the school, stop parking, drop-off time, that sort of thing? And that's really...
And the screening as well.
Yeah,
landscaping, there's a landscaping as well, though,
yeah.
I was interested in as well, just to see, you know, mainly from 19A and 17A.
Yeah, this is not a finished drawing, this is quite bare, and we actually specifically left it bare. At the moment, there's actually no fence here, there's no boundary treatment at all. The fence has actually gone just there. There's a piece of fence missing here, and this is quite an old boundary. There's a hedge, and then a metre or so gap, and then there's like another hedge. And as a result of the meeting we had last night with local residents, we're also going to have follow-up meetings with the 3 specific neighbours, which is 17A, 5 and number 19, to discuss with them exactly their requirements for the boundary, what they would like to see, and can we enhance the planting. We had an agricultural survey of the site, and unfortunately the trees have been left in such a poor state, as in nobody's done anything to them for probably 10 years or so. There's a couple of trees at the front here which are nice trees, but they're full of beetle. The 2 trees here, unfortunately one of them is they grade the trees as I'm sure you know, they grade them as A, B, C's and D's. I think one of them was a D, one of them was a C. The problem is when we take one of them away, the other tree is left lopsided. So we haven't sort of designed this plan totally without respect to what's on the site. There is a couple of trees. This is actually quite a good tree here, which you want to retain. There's a few bushes here. The hedges specifically are quite significant. And the main hedge along Codstock Road, we're keeping intact, and that was the other reason for having only a single entrance. The fact that we do retain as much of the hedge as possible. One of the requests from Highways was to actually provide an extension to the path into the site, which will allow staff to actually walk to the site as opposed to having to use their cars as well.
You've cut some of the trees down already. You
no,
have, because I mean I've seen them.
Right.
We had some of the site cleared.
Right.
We had some, and that was only so we could get the lasers in there to obviously get the levels and to get the top on and stuff like that. It was so overgrown, the surveyors obviously couldn't get on there, so hence that's why they had. It was mainly around the outside, or around the boundaries where they obviously just trimmed around there so they could act. As Paul said, I don't know if he's actually done anything to the land for probably 10 years. I mean, there's anthills on there, I'm not exaggerating, this kind of high. So just to actually get on the land and actually, survey the land, we had to, do a bit of trimming kind of thing. Because we just put our lasers, from side to side, so we can obviously pick up levels, etc. And of course, it was that overgrown, we couldn't do that. So,
is there have you considered construction traffic? Well, because it's quite a big building, isn't it?
No, we talked about that at some length last night as well. Obviously, there'll be a construction plan, which we presume will be conditioned. We won't submit that with a plan application. We expect that to be a condition. But the things, obviously, we'll be talking about is no deliveries between, some construction deliveries between probably 8 and 10, or 8 and 9:30 at least, and then between 2 and sort of 3:30 to avoid the school areas. We're actually even talking about possibilities of, because the main significant construction will be groundworks when we're actually digging foundations, removing earth from site, bringing concrete in. And there's a possibility that that could be done over the summer holidays. And that would be something we'd be looking to do, because it makes a lot of sense. There's no point.
I mean, the reason I asked this is because we were at the sharp end of public opinion, and if something starts this, and a child is injured or someone feels a child is going to be injured, then we get it.
It's probably actually better to do it while children actually go to school rather than the other way around. Because if you actually think about it, in summer holidays there's going to be a lot more children around in the daytime than what there would be, in actual term time.
But as long as you can give us reassurances that that's actually been taken into consideration.
We'd obviously have a plan there, and really I know it is a big development, but I mean, as soon as the site is obviously, or the existing house is demolished, and it's cleared, and the footings are out, there's not that much more really to take away from site. It really is then bringing materials to site.
It is a single process as opposed to, I'm thinking the Persimmon site down the road, which was a phased development, so you literally had foundations on one house there, another house there, another house. this will be
Yeah.
more concentrated
All at
in the
once.
sense that
Yeah,
it'll
you
be
have
houses and
to
houses.
dig them all out, muck away, footings in, materials delivered to do, X amount of weeks worth of work, and move on like that.
How many staff will be on duty at any one time?
Around, in the daytime, we'll be looking at around about 10 members of staff.
There is employment figures which we've got as part of our design action plan, or will be part of the design action plan.
Part of the reason for the question is obviously it is going to be staffed 24/7,
Yeah, sure.
which suggests that there may be staff moving around at somewhat unsocial hours, shall we say. And it's just trying to work out how many members of staff are going to be potentially driving up to the site or whatever at
That's
whatever
typical
o'clock.
Shift patterns are 7 till 7. So that's the typical shift pattern. You have obviously cooking staff, you have cleaning staff who will be in at different hours, mornings generally. Busiest times in care homes is normally between sort of 10 and sort of 2, but the specific change of shift is 7 till 7.
Right.
And that is, yeah, so you have literally have a,
And again, that kind of works with the school again, because it misses both ends of the school.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole proposal, I think it's 42 full-time jobs equivalent. That's the generation of jobs they will generate.
That's because we're 24/7, so and you tend to do like 3 on 3 off.
Yeah, I was saying 4 days on, 4 days off, yeah, I remember.
Is there anything we could take away this evening? Positive and negative, really. Just so we can go ahead and do some more work on it, and hopefully get a planning application submitted.
My biggest issue would be car parking.
Yeah.
There's with that number of people, and when you talk about a shift change, and I know you have the ambition of shipping people in, but it doesn't work. People come from all around the villages. At shift change time, you've potentially got 20 staff cars.
It's only 10 maximum at one time.
Yeah, but a shift change,
Yeah.
10 in, 10 out, there's
And
20
if the
cars.
shift changes are done at a time when it doesn't interfere with the school kids going in.
Well, no, but they can't park on the road, they can't get in the
No,
car
I know.
park, the car park isn't big
But
enough.
That's what the issue
You've got-
is, it's near the school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've
I
got
think you'd be surprised.
Well, you've got delivery vehicles, you've got visitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we're pretty bad at looking after our old people around here, and we don't visit them. But in terms of visitor parking,
But like I
it
said,
just
I mean,
seems extremely tight on that site there to have so few parking spaces.
I mean, we can look at the parking. I mean, there is obviously we can try and get some additional parking in there. We can. But like I said, I mean, just as for deliveries and stuff, there's not as many as deliveries as everybody thinks. I mean, it really is waste, which will be on a weekly basis. Food, which come into the home, and things like your nursing supplies, etc.
Yeah.
And and apart from that, obviously cleaning supplies, there isn't much more. I mean, a care home really is just a big house. So it has several lounges, has several bathrooms, and lots of bedrooms.
Yeah.
So
So we have, just on the planning, we've been doing over by the South Bridge, we have a property there with far fewer residents than this place has got, and more parking spaces than you've got on that one there. So my biggest issue is parking.
Okay.
I have to say, the parking at that particular place is one of the biggest problems we've got on this
Absolutely.
I'm not exaggerating.
No, and like I said, all the feedback we've had, and from neighbours, obviously Paul's local as well, is especially at the beginning and the end of schools, because I believe people just park on the double yellows there and on the zigzags, and they don't really care, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it. So that's the feedback. That's the feedback we get. So.
There's no police and
No
traffic.
police and no traffic wardens.
Just,
Well, they were in Albion today.
well, they drive. Ben?
Okay.
Right, can I just say,
Yeah.
well done, thanks, because it's an eyesore. We need more old people's homes. This is exactly what we need, and I just wanted to let you know that although we've had, these are really
back. But actually, I think there's a lot of positive vibes.
And I think one thing, if you look at, Country Club Care's website, what we are trying to deliver is good quality care as well. Just going back in our plans, we have coffee shops in there, we have pubs in there, we have cinema rooms in there, we have relaxation rooms in there, there's spa rooms, etc. So one thing, our philosophy really is a care home is a little bit like a cruise ship. It's very hard to get out once you come in, so we try to ensure the facilities are on site for everybody to use, because we have private dining in there as well, and that's just a little bit, so if it is mum, dad, brother, sister's birthday, etc., the family can come, and if they are poorly, they can go to a local pub or restaurant, etc., but they can still celebrate their birthday. We have family rooms in our homes as well, which we try and encourage as much as possible, grandchildren, etc., coming to see nan, granddad, aunt, uncle, etc., because there's been a lot of studies, especially with schools and care homes, and actually local schools, junior schools, infant schools actually going into care homes, and the smile actually puts on people's faces is massive.
Just one, but is this a done deal? Is this going to happen?
Well, no, it is subject to planning. It is. I think the thing with this piece of land, that it's something we discussed with the neighbours yesterday. There is a high price tag on this piece of land. There is. Now, right or wrong, not one house is going to be able. I shouldn't say that, but I don't believe that the figures would stack up just to build one house on that site for the asking price. So.
Can I just ask what the size of the plot is?
It's 3,000 something square metres.
I don't mind a kind of ballpark figure.
It's just it's
It's
around just over 3,400 square metres.
How many?
3,400. The building footprint is 1,000 and something. It literally works out at 33.33%, almost bang on.
And that's what we just tried to explain to the neighbours last night. If you actually look at this plot here, these two bits together is roughly about 33% of the actual plot. So as much as it does look a big building on that plot, actual plot to the actual building to size of plot is very much similar to the actual neighbouring properties.
I mean, you're here for the residents yourselves, so we're not going to deny, but the comment was that they would love to see something much smaller for the neighbours, but there's a...
Councillor Oates, then I think we're going to have to wrap this up.
No problem, yeah,
I'm just about availability. Keep them going as long as you can, because we're running out of space in the cemetery.
Well, that's our key one.
Right. On that note, I think that's probably a good time to finish.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank
For
you.
the presentation. I'm sorry you had to sit through a rather lengthy start, but
It was actually interesting to see some of the actual debates. Well, it is very true. It's some of the internal debates, if you will.
The excitement that we had.
Exactly. Yes.
right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, without further ado, I'm going to attempt to now start the business part of the agenda.
Yeah, what we're here for.
Which is somewhat later than might have been anticipated, but I think we'll agree that it's been a very worthwhile start to this meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next item is to do with interests, and first of all, does anybody have any disclosable pecuniary interests?
No, I've just got I don't know where.
And secondly,
The stables at Cobthorne is owned by the school.
it is.
One is employed by the school.
I think that's an other interest. So Councillor Chesser, another interest in relation to the stables at Cobthorne, and I think Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, I've got an interest in three St Christopher's, one of our neighbours.
Ah. Right. Any others? No. The minutes of the previous meeting, which have been circulated.
I second them. All those in favour?
I think I was the only one who wasn't actually there.
Yeah,
So,
right.
You
done
weren't
that.
there, no, you weren't there.
I wasn't there,
You weren't there.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Isn't it somewhat typical that we've tried to get Paul Bland here for months and we end up with two lots of presentations
Yeah.
on the same night, which is not ideal, but on the other hand,
You'd rather have
they were both
Yeah.
Well, it's
excellent
actually
things
quite
to
good that
have
he
done.
was here to hear that. Because that's all going to come across his desk, isn't it? And he's going to hear. He's already hearing all of this stuff.
So, let us move on to the first of the planning applications, which hopefully, if we stick to this one, is actually 3 St Christopher's Drive.
It is. Right, here we go. So, that's where it is. It's on the way out to where there might be a development. It's on the corner. That is the house as it is. And here we go. Floor plans, there we go. Basically, it's that.
Oh, blimey.
That's it.
Is it attaching the garage?
Elements, you know, they've got, here we go. That's it.
It's attaching the garage.
That's it.
Oh, there's no issue with that, so.
A certain council have actually mentioned that it didn't think it needed planning permission.
I
But
don't
usually,
think it does. No.
yeah, but usually the reason is because if they ever want to sell it, the solicitor who's acting on the other side is saying, have you had planning permission for this? That's often the reason why they would do it. So, anyway.
Any objections from any neighbours?
Oh no, don't get me on that.
Next one. Next.
Next.
Right, we haven't actually done it.
Hang on.
No, hang a minute. Oh, sorry. Right.
I get the sense that the mood of the meeting is no objection.
Just one thing. Does anyone think that is this is a precursor to making the garage into something other than a garage later on?
It's possible, but there's plenty of parking out front of the garage.
It doesn't make any difference to our decision at the
No,
moment.
if you look at the picture, I'll just show you this. I did think about parking. If you look at the picture, you'll see there's tons of, it's a wagon rig.
Right. Okay.
So even if they did decide to make that into a granny annex, you've still got space for about 4 cars in there.
All right. That's my only thought.
Is that all right?
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
Right, on to North Street.
North Street. Right, struggle with this a bit, to be perfectly honest.
What's in
There it is. That's the site. So we've got Tansy, apparently is the applicant. That's all it said. Right, okay. There we go. Have a look at that. I'm trying to get straight into this.
So it's at the back of the house?
Yep.
So it's in the back of the street?
Single story. The easy thing is there's quite a deep introduction on North Street. On double applications down, I've got a lot of people who've actually just put the position a little bit, so.
Back to street scene.
Right,
Yeah, of course,
okay,
okay.
there we go,
Yeah.
that's the floor plan, and you can basically, pretty well see the additional bit they're going to put on. If you look on the right hand side, it's a proposal,
Yes,
single story, it really doesn't even get too far into the back garden, really.
If this did not have the magic letters LBC after it, we wouldn't even be
We wouldn't bat an eye.
batting an eyelid. However, it does have the letters LBC after
We
it.
would want to comment on what it's built off, because they've given themselves a choice of pretty much
Are you
anything.
going to do no objective subject to the conservation?
Well, I think it's, I don't know, but I mean, my view is that Councillor Chess's point is a good point, that whatever else we say, unless it's, that we actually object wholeheartedly, we should be making a comment that the materials would have to be in keeping with the rest of the building and the local vernacular, because that's going to be very
Well,
important.
that's fair, but in fairness, in those statements they said it would be in stone brick
Yeah,
to match the rear. So
Yeah.
that may be superfluous, but I've no issue with making that as something. The other thing, of course, is that Lloyd Mills is looking at this one,
Yeah.
and if he's not very happy with it, then
Obviously, if he's not happy, it's unlikely to happen, but we of course, can give a steer. I mean, if we are happy, then he looks at it against that background. If we've expressed any particular concerns, then he's going to obviously take that into account when he's looking at it himself.
Happy subject to.
And I do, one always has a little worry when you're structurally altering a listed building. The reason it's listed is not really altering it.
The door is
You alter it by adding to it. I mean, you can't get away from the fact that it makes a significant difference to the building. But I suspect that
There's one next door as well.
yeah.
The one next door.
Well, that's the comment, that's the get out clause, isn't it?
Yeah.
The small extension of the neighbour.
I think the answer is, as Councillor Cora, I think, suggested earlier, that it's probably going to come down to no objection, provided A, that the materials are as indicated in the application appropriate, and B, that the Conservation Officer has no objection.
Excellent.
Sorry,
Not really wanting to slow it down, but the roof is shown on that one. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's carry on. No worries.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's not a flat roof, that's all.
No, it's not a flat roof.
Yeah.
Right, and now into Webb Close.
Got three. Right, Webb Close. Well, we've got the Sycamore. Sycamore.
They're not topping it down.
No, they're trimming it.
Yeah.
Tree officer.
Bearing in mind that this is husbandry rather than removal, our standard policy is to make no objection unless the tree
I'm
officer
just
says.
amused because when the original presentations were done about this whole site, there was massive emphasis, if you like, on all the trees on the site and how wonderful it was going to be. And
Now
over
everyone
the
chops them
years,
down.
they've all been getting chopped down.
Yeah, and my big problem
You
is...
mean reduced?
Well, my...
Some have gone more than being reduced.
No,
Some have gone.
no, you've really got to look at the avenue on Vashton Road and see how many trees came out of that.
Yeah.
The thing is that I did try to get a sat nav, sat with this, but I couldn't because it went over in 2009 before the rest of the stuff had been done.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit... one of the reasons I made the point...
That's a good one.
Oh, he's gone.
Presentation about
The point is that
the trees are massive.
they are very, very large. They are very large. At least they were on the 2009 SAC.
Yep.
But I didn't know which one it was because I couldn't work out.
Yeah.
No objections.
Well,
Right.
is it what we said? No
Yeah,
objection,
usual.
subject to any observation of the tree officer.
Right. Well, moved
There's
on.
a new tree officer. And
Yeah, it's very good, Henry.
Very good.
Very, very good.
Very, very good.
Which
Pharmacy.
moves us on to our
Here we
new
go.
pharmacy.
You've only got one slide on this.
That's it.
You can see
And
it.
it's the red post office sign.
That's the new post office sign. You can see the two of them.
Oh, you got it.
The only issue is possibly that they are ones that stick out, but there are other ones that do the same thing.
Well, we
further
do
down.
rather encourage sticking out ones. It's been the vernacular.
As long as they're not illuminated, we're quite happy.
Yeah, we
I was
like
going to say, with no real banks, it's good to see the post office sign.
Yes.
Except there ain't going to be no post office for a long time.
Okay.
It's all come to a halt.
Just come, there was a thing on there.
What's the third sign on the wall, though? Because that does get into a rather nice wall
It
there.
says additional post office signage added to.
Yeah.
Frontage on
No,
the
but
front.
yeah,
Yeah, so that it's the third one I see no point of.
It says new post office notice mounted between windows to allow
It's
for
between
pedestrians to read.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is what it says.
It's between windows.
On the other hand, could they not just put a notice inside the window without actually
I'd
having to
rather
affix
do
anything
that.
to the wall of a listed, grade 2 listed
Exactly.
building?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably Councillor Robinson's point.
Yeah, the
isn't it?
first two are
Seems to me-
fine, but that
Yeah,
third one...
that third one's a nonsense.
So is this the one that's 180174?
Bloody eyes are better than I have, but...
Well, no, because you've got to work out which one it is. Because you've got three here.
Yeah.
So the first one is okay. The second one is the one that's okay. And it's the third one, well, 18420106, which is the one that you're objecting.
New
Yeah.
post
Yeah.
office notice.
Okay, well, I think.
Is there a consensus that we have no problem with the two, but
Two's
the one
fine,
that is
three's a bit
actually
too
The one that's on the wall is rubbish, yeah.
we would
Sorry.
prefer that not to be there at all?
Yes.
You'll see it better on Neville's.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, see it, I don't like it, but it's enough.
So
Okay,
the one
that's
that's
fine.
fixed to the wall,
Yes, the one that's fixed.
The one that's fixed to the
which we
wall,
can't
in
really see
between.
that well.
Which is for pedestrians to read.
Well, you can see it, but
Yeah,
As I say, what's wrong with putting something
in the window.
Yeah.
Stick it in the window.
Right,
are we all right on that one?
Yeah.
I think we're probably okay with that one.
Out of 3, ain't bad.
2 or 3.
That moves us on to the Old Market Hall, another significant building in the centre.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
that's all I'm going to put up to that.
Hang on, they're all 3. Is that the one about Old Market Hall, installation of individual blue stainless steel?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
What do
the
the letters say? Do we know?
Oh, that's it.
Sharman Quinny.
Simon Quinn
Oh,
going in.
right, okay.
Are they going in?
Mm-hmm.
Are they
It's
in?
been such a
It's
mess.
basically, the wording says, that we, in designing it, we considered the signage that was previously in situ, and that is absolutely dead right, because I checked. Nigel Peterbilt decided had individual letters in exactly the same locations. The size and colour of letters do not conflict with the overall appearance of the building.
Oh, that's fair
The
enough.
method of fixing will again be small holes to accommodate the fixing stones in the rear of the letters. Letters will be made from descaled stainless steel coated pone glue. Installation access will be via a freestanding tile, not touching the building. But to be perfectly honest,
What do you think?
I usually like other people to comment before.
Councillor Chesham wishes to, so Councillor Chesham may.
Well, my understanding is that as it's a listed building, you won't be able to make lots of holes in the structure. And I don't think they'll allow those individual letters to be put up in that way.
Well, they're saying they're putting them in exactly the same locations, but we can make
That's-
that, we can make that observation.
One didn't say it in great, wasn't it? They're not.
I'm not sure that they were individual
They
letters, as this one is described. This does sound to me like a classic one, actually, for saying that we have concerns, but we defer to the view of the Conservation Officer.
Because when the North were putting the new blind up, they were told to stop, if you remember. Because they were making different holes in the building.
Okay.
You're not allowed to do it.
And can we have free electricity for our Christmas tree parade?
Yes, well, possibly that's Marsmead Let's Night, where we pick up the first bit.
So it's,
we must.
What are you saying?
Well, I think
We're
we're
concerned, but we want to
we're
see-
expressing our concern at the impact on the fabric of a Grade 2 listed building in the most prominent position in the entire town.
How are they going to put a sign?
And we would only be happy if the conservation officer was himself satisfied.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
effectively.
yeah,
The other thing is, but then, the other thing I'd say is how are they going to put signage up?
Well, the previous people had some.
Yeah, so there's holes in the wall at the moment.
I mean, it'd be peppered with holes by the time
They
it's...
just need to get in the same holes.
It's just,
Yeah.
you can't that's it, when you made a hole in the on
fair
stone,
enough.
that's it,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It doesn't grow back again.
So they're moving in there.
Right. Right, sorry.
Put some moving.
Yes.
Right, so that was the old market.
Well, that, in a sense,
Well,
those two
moving on.
link together, don't they? So I don't
Yeah.
think we need to
Oh, here we go, the stables. It's interior though, isn't it?
Okay, look, this is,
look at that.
so
So
this is 99% internal really, but we are dealing with the stables and not Cobthorne. Now Cobthorne's Grade 1 listed. The school are not going to do anything that detracts from that in any way, shape or fashion. And the stable's Grade 2. Floor plans, just for you to know,
Yeah.
basically it's largely an internal refurbishment.
Yeah, it's probably a department.
So there you go, you've got your existing one and the new one.
I love
And
that
it's-
part of Roundel actually.
But
And there's
I dug around, there's quite a lot of documents attached to this
Yeah.
to do with history and all sorts of things. But, I'm trying to keep it simple so we can whip through it.
Well, I've got
Is that all right?
Yes.
No,
No,
So
objection.
is the view, again, bearing in mind that it has the
It's
magic
a-
letters after it, it's that we have no objection subject to the view of the Conservation
Yes,
Officer.
that would be-
Rather unlike the other one
Yeah,
where we were
yeah,
expressing
yeah.
specific
We've
concern.
got a tree.
We got a tree again.
I bet it's removal.
There we go.
Cheers.
I got my best to find this one.
Don't
A
like
tree in Mill Street, which
No.
Well, there it is.
Mill Road, I mean.
Mill Road.
It's in Mill Street.
It's, I mean, it really it's massive compared to the size of the back garden. All I can say is, we're back to the tree officer.
Are they, why are they getting rid of it?
It's
Basically, because it's too
close to
close to
the
the
house.
house.
Well, puts it back a bit.
Well, exactly. I
Holly
mean,
bush.
I'm not happy with losing the tree.
Especially not a holly. I think, and I think Henry Pearson, the tree officer, will be quite upset about that. Actually, I think he will be very upset that this has come through.
would it not be right to say that if felling could be avoided by appropriate husbandry,
Yes.
then that would be what we would prefer,
Yes.
and we would invite the tree
Absolutely.
officer to consider whether that is
Absolutely.
possible.
Absolutely.
Because it is drastic to take the tree out.
And especially a holly. I mean, there are very, very few hollies around anymore. Full-grown holly trees like that, and it's it would seem a crime.
But there's no need to get rid of it because the building's been there for years and the trees have been there for years. It's just got a bit bigger.
Yeah, which would suggest if you cut it back.
Well, that's what I mean. That's the point.
Yeah. What of course we are missing, and it Councillor Oates made earlier, is that there is probably a report by a tree surgeon that's gone in with this.
Well, there is.
But
And I would guess who it is. A certain person called Rowlett.
not surprised. And
Is
presumably,
he a cancer? Is he
does he say that there is no alternative?
There's nothing. This is what I was trying to say to Mr. Bland. I just don't get enough information on tree applications.
Should be passed on to the tree officer.
It's in the. His name is on the application form. So
It's not one at the back because it's so prickly.
Yeah.
but
Well,
it would be nice to have it trimmed and not felled.
Yes.
And
Well, I think that's
I think
our
our
observation,
new
isn't it?
tree officer will.
Absolutely.
We would prefer to see it not removed,
We need trees.
and it's simply
And holly
cut back
Christmas.
appropriately unless there is no alternative
But not
to
enough
removal
trees.
in the view of the tree officer. Words
Well,
to
forest
that general
represents-
effect.
Is that what you're saying about trees?
right.
It'll be a shame if it goes.
Are we going?
We'll move on to Warren Bridge, which at last is not a listed building, or
Right.
at least not
Not that you
yet.
can do anything you like, but I know what you mean.
It's on the corner overlooking the allotment.
They're going for an attic.
They're doing an awful lot of
Going
stuff
upwards.
there. That's the house.
Well,
It's quite a big one. I've been in it actually when I was delivering oracles. It's a big house. It's miles away from that. Well, it's not grey listed, it's not this, that and the other, and it's not a cul-de-sac. I've got no evidence of any objections from other people, and if you look at it, it's attic inversion, well, I wouldn't need much. New front porch, well. Single story extension, well. That's out towards the allotments. Replacement of garage door, I suppose they're going to put an automatic one in, probably, something like that.
What's a soffit?
The soffit is if you look at where the roof comes down, the soffits, the boards that are underneath. The
Interesting.
fascias are on the
Yeah.
front, but a soffit is the
Bit
bit
Why don't
underneath.
you just say as long as it's
Under the
in keeping with the
eaves.
rest of the property?
under the
Underneath.
eaves,
Oh,
underneath
You
the
know, roof tiles and
arches.
things.
Yep.
It's got some old
Well,
ones,
I
hasn't
don't,
it,
I
actually?
mean, have you got an
Yes.
idea what the plan will look like?
No,
No.
well I have, but again I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible.
Yeah,
Is it
I-
matching?
if-
Is it
if-
matching
Yeah,
then?
it will, it'll have to. I mean, the building inspector makes sure of that.
Yeah.
But,
Just say that we
It's
should
in the middle
incorporate
there.
that into a comment.
Yeah, it should be in a comment because if there's there's replacing windows and replacing windows.
And roof
They're all
tiles.
really, really nasty
Yeah.
Not in keeping with the,
UPVCs and not in
It's
keeping
like-
with the rest of it. Because Warren Bridge, I sound like a really old fuddy-duddy, I know now, but Warren Bridge is one of those estates that has been kept
All
sort
look
of
the same.
as it is when it was built in a funny sort of way, and it's sort of, you know, I don't know,
But
with danger of losing that somehow.
Yeah, that dwelling's already been extended.
It's been butchered
Yeah,
already.
it's already been
That
extended.
particular part actually is, I used to deliver oracles there. This is why delivering oracles can be quite useful.
I agree.
Because that area you're right, it's messy. It doesn't look as neat as that in reality. So, to be honest, if they did what they did to the house isn't going to make
It's going to improve it, if anything.
It'll probably improve it.
Yeah.
I mean, you walk. It's the worst. That is the worst part of that estate.
Well, you go.
In terms, I mean,
It's actually really quite down.
yeah.
It goes downhill. It's down the
Because the
hill.
estate itself is nice. I agree with you. It's a nice estate.
But it actually goes down the hill towards the river.
Right.
Right.
Sorry.
So, is it simply no objection, or is it simply no objection subject to the
Objection.
the materials used being in keeping with
I
the
think
existing
exactly.
dwellings?
I don't think
surrounding
I
ones?
don't think anyone would object to putting that in there, because that's, you know,
The materials in keeping. That's
Yeah.
it.
materials in keeping is quite
Yeah.
important.
Okay,
Nobody seems to be doing our job.
so no objection and materials. If we just write those two words down, it will remind us.
No, it's good.
Which brings us
Mean Valley Business
to the
Park.
business park.
Oh, right.
Mean Valley, boy, don't
Well, I've been down there today.
correction.
What the exercise
What
is.
do you want to say about that?
Well, I'm telling. Well, my wife will tell you.
Okay, so you've got GB access on the right as we know
They got
it,
a big crane.
which is a huge crane.
They got the crane. Yeah.
And the bit that you're looking at on the left was the old post office sort of
Oh, right.
delivery.
Yeah, sorting
Yeah.
office,
Yeah.
wasn't
It's the
it?
part of the post
Yeah,
office.
and
Yeah.
it now, there's a lot of, what's the guy called, who does Sadler, has had his vans there, but the bit that you're looking at with the red arrow is a whole new area, second area for GB access.
Mhm.
And in there is already a crane.
Is that the second crane?
Yes.
That's
So
the
there's
second
two.
crane.
This will be the
crane,
third crane.
well,
No,
I
no.
think the crane, I think that it's that
I
crane
think.
that's
I
already
think
there.
they
Oh, it's a
studied.
retrospective one.
I think this could well be a retrospective.
So it's not a huge crane, and it's a very slender crane, which could probably be dismounted, which I think is
Well,
what
that's
it
what it
says.
is.
But
You're
it's
saying they're going
already
to take
there.
it down at weekends and bank holidays, which sounds a bit
bonkers.
Can I just say, I thought that was the strangest thing to put in.
I
I
tell
mean,
you
it's
what,
on the industrial side.
It's a pop-up crane. It's just like, oh my God.
I mean, when I read this, I really did have
Yeah,
a
but it
chuckle.
doesn't. I mean, you've got a big crane next to it, haven't you?
no,
I mean-
the big crane is here. The big crane is here.
There's a big one found already at the moment, isn't there?
Because you've got the former
Tell you what the worst
place
bit
down
is
there.
there. I'm so glad there aren't any houses, because the amount of traffic between GB access, because I go down there to the gym, going backwards and forwards. I went down today to take a picture, but going backwards and forwards, and men walking backwards and forwards, it's totally
It's
total
industrial.
chaos.
It's a business model.
Especially the men walking backwards and forwards.
Right.
Men in yellow hats walking backwards and
Well, I've got
forwards,
to
saying,
go.
"Hello, look."
No objection.
trying to get in the
It's there
gym.
already.
Yeah.
So any yellow
It's
hats,
called
as far as I
moving
recall, don't need planning permission for being there, but this crane does, and the question is,
No
what's our view on it?
I couldn't think of a single reason.
Well, I just, the people living the other side of that band of trees, this
Yeah.
thing's going to be poking up above the trees, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So there is,
But not on weekends.
yeah.
Or
But
bank
bank
holidays.
Bank holidays.
Over Christmas, they won't be able to spy into you.
So you
It's
see,
meant to know whether it
when
is.
they're home and not
As
working.
if they're going to do,
Yeah, exactly.
they're not going to do it.
No, they're not going to take it down.
Well, we
Well,
could
unless we say that you've said you're going to do it,
Yes,
so
yeah.
it should be a
Yeah.
planning
That's
condition that it's
exactly.
removed.
Well, then, fine.
That's
In
what
fact,
I'm
why
saying.
not?
We've got to make it plain.
Well, force them.
They
They
said
said
they're going
that.
to do it.
Exactly.
Why not
They said
say,
they forced
in
them.
that case, it
forced
should be
them.
a condition
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
yes. Yep.
that that's done.
And then
And-
we can enforce
And,
it.
and someone will inspect that it happens every weekend.
Yeah.
And so the other issue,
Councillor Humphries is just
Yeah,
volunteered to
absolutely.
go.
I don't mind walking down there and saying, you haven't taken your crane down.
Right,
so
so,
the other issue about
Councillor
this,
S.O. will do that when she goes to the gym.
Councillor Robinson.
yeah, the other issue then about this is operational hours of the crane. So I know that there are strict rules elsewhere on that site about operational hours.
There are.
And those cranes are noisy. So we should have some
Right,
rules.
so-
I don't know what it is, but
Right. So we want a condition around taking it down, etc., at weekends and bank holidays, but we want another condition to restrict the operation of the crane to appropriate hours.
Yep.
We might not want to actually specify
No 2
what they
o'clock in
are.
the morning crane.
well, I think
And
that
raise
as
it
I
to-
remember the site opposite, there are specific hours. I think
Three till 7
7 till 5 or something like that has been agreed on the rest of the site.
I think you're right, Tony, actually.
Because they have
Well, we could say appropriate hours in line with any other similar
Yes.
It's a good
Yeah.
point, well made.
cranes in operation or something like that.
And our crane is now, it's there anyway.
And they've already done it, so.
Right.
Right.
We have one last application for us to look at, which is Combe Close.
Right. About as easy. This is about as easy as it'll get. There we go, we've got the site plan, it's the house in that sort of edge of the
Blue bit, isn't it?
that little bit there, yeah, that's the house. That's it, right, and all with it. And this is happening a lot now. Now, that's the existing one. Okay.
Yes.
That's what they're proposing more or less.
There's no problem with that.
Perfect.
But a lot of people are doing,
That's
a
a lot
lot
better.
of people are doing this now. A lot of people are no longer putting up fully UBC conservatories anymore. It's not fashionable.
They want rooms that are usable all year round, don't
They
they?
want rooms that are usable all year round. and
Not freezing in the winter.
Exactly.
There you go.
But it
Well,
was
it's,
just,
it's bigger this than the original.
And plastic.
no, that's just an example.
Well, it's-
That's just an example.
That's a different house.
Oh, right.
That's a close
Sorry, I made
up.
this. Where did the door come from?
That's a different colour.
That is basically, look, I mean, that's up there just to show what the.
No, sir.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
What it will look like.
No objection.
No objection to
So
that.
it's no objection, again, they've said it's all going to match, etc., so it's no objection subject to conditions regarding appropriate use of materials, etc.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
So we've managed to get through the planning applications in
Get over it.
about 25 minutes, it wasn't too bad. We're nearly there, folks. The next bit is just advising us on outcomes. There are a couple of interesting outcomes.
In fact, I
One of which, as we're all aware, is that the application in respect of North Bridge was withdrawn.
Yes.
And the other one that was withdrawn was actually in West Street.
And I used to live in that house, 39 West Street.
Well, there you go.
I wasn't there.
Right, also that we've got our planning permission for our workshop.
Yeah.
Oh, good. And the question's still on the workshop planning permission. Was it the right way round?
Right way round.
You
Yeah.
want?
Was the permission that we've been granted with the workshop the right way round?
I've got to speak to Emma about that.
Well, that's all I've had so far back is hopefully, but
Well,
we don't know
find
which
out
way
from
round
Emma.
it is.
Let's put it this way, it's distinctly embarrassing if we build it and it's
No,
not
we
right.
won't.
Well,
Members
the-
expected-
We must check it.
Yeah,
Lisa, could you check it?
Yeah, Tony's already asked me to do
Yeah,
that.
the
I won't
original
do it.
applications, they had it down 90 degrees wrong. Yeah.
Okay, so we note the position with regard to that, but we will make sure that it's right before we actually start implementing
Well, it's good to
Um,
be back.
Can you imagine?
it. There is
Another
no planning appeals to note.
No.
Any other matters to report? I'll start with Councillor Oakes.
No.
No?
No.
No?
No. And I think it's good night from me as well.
Good night from you. Good
And so at 20 to 10,
Obviously very busy around the
I'll close the meeting. Thank you for
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
your persistence.